So, hi guys.
Hello.
Hey,
So tell me a little about you guys first. Like, I know your dads, but tell me more.
All right, Derek, do you want
um,
to start or do you want me to start?
yeah, I'll start. My name
All
is
right.
Derek. I'm a host on Super Secret Dad Club here with Pete. And I also do another podcast called The Tone Control that is about guitars and music and music production and creation and that kind of thing. I've been doing that for, we're entering our 11th year. So
Whoa.
we've been podcasting for a long time. And what else? I work at a university. I have a little boy named Jack who is having a little bit of a hard time going to sleep right now, but we're managing. Um, and what else? What else? I play guitar, of course, for the if the podcast wasn't enough of a giveaway. Um, I'm into video games. What else? I had a tattoo consult today.
Oh,
So
another one?
Oh,
yeah. So
Going
things are getting
big.
exciting over here. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. Pete and I met at college. We went to school together and then we worked together for a little bit afterwards when he started up his business. And that's about it. I live in New Hampshire. I'm originally
Yeah.
from Connecticut.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah, and I'm
that's
Pete, the
awesome.
other host of the Super Secret Dad Club. And my wife and I started a media agency, a marketing agency in 2008 when we graduated from college, where we met Derek. Derek helped us. At first, we mainly did like a lot of film and photo, and so we like take family portraits, film weddings, do corporate videos and stuff like that. We've since then transitioned to be a digital agency. And as we've grown that, I was able to kind of transition my role to be not so much in the day to day, so I could take over control of helping father, be a dad every day. Um, and so, and then we had her right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, so it was a perfect transition. As far as hobbies and everything, I love to write music, play music, make videos, take photos, just all things creative. Yeah, I think that kind of sums me up.
Yeah,
I'm just
Pete
a
and I
kind of
overlap a lot. There's a major Venn diagram between us.
yeah. I'm like the jack
Yeah.
of all trades. Kind of, I just love just working on stuff. And so, Derek approached me probably around July, saying, "Hey, I was kicking around an idea in my head about starting a dad podcast. What do you think?" And I was like, "Actually, I have like a 3-page outline of one I want to start." So already, so it was like the
I was just
perfect.
thinking about that today, that I had just texted you like, we should start a dad podcast. And that was it. And then we
It
were
was
like,
just like,
okay,
"Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, I
yeah,
have it
just
down already."
basically just like turn on the dad podcast switch and then we were going. So
Yeah, and so I think we just put out our 14th episode.
yeah.
15's coming out next week, and we're just having fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally fun. That's kind of cool that you guys like music. Just, I mean, I like
Yeah,
Hmm.
music as well. It's just something to do.
it's a lot of fun, and we've been actually bringing it into like the creative that we're doing here. Um, so we've been making fun songs about just parenthood and being a
Yeah.
dad and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I do all of my recording here at home in this office, and I can just send Pete some stems and send him like project files, and then like with the next day he's like, "Here's a finished song," and
Yeah,
it's like about going to Target or trying to get your shoes on faster or
yeah.
something like that.
So the only hang up with that is that I want to record all these really fun videos for them, but that's a little more time consuming than the music making for me. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
I have a big backlog of funny songs I want to put out on our socials, but either way, it's a lot of fun. Like I said, we started it for fun and want to keep it in that lane so we can stay creative with it. Because once it becomes like a chore or like a business, then I just kind of fall off of wanting to do it. So
yeah. Not making it work and like not turning it into like a worky jobby job thing, but also like that's just the reality of the positions we're in right now as dads. Like my Jack is 18 months old, so it is all hands on deck all the time. And that means like going dark on social media for 3 or 4 weeks at a time while we figure things out around here, and just family stuff always takes priority. So
oh yeah, for
we
sure.
we podcast when we can, and fortunately we've had like a pretty good run of not having to skip weeks and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's come close. It's come close a few times, but Yeah,
Yeah.
and I forgot to mention I have a 4-year-old daughter, Lacey, and so she's just it's like I always say every phase is the best phase because it's all always brand new to you.
It's all new. Yeah.
But this is like the greatest phase because she's like almost completely independent, so you can just do everything by yourself, and she's learning every day and doing new things every day, so it's a lot of fun. And of course, because she's grown up with us, she's very creative too, so we're always just doing fun projects. Actually, before this, I was setting this computer setup down here, and she got in the seat and she's like, I want to make a podcast. And so I sent Derek a photo. It was really funny. So
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. Well, I have a niece that's 2, and I have a nephew that's 7 and going to be 5 next week.
oh,
So,
cool.
so
Yeah,
it's,
are they close to you?
yeah, they're
Are
just
your
like,
nieces? Yeah.
yeah.
Like, do
Yeah.
they live in the same city as you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. That's neat.
Nice. I
And
have
they're only like
two
down.
nieces.
They're like down the street, kind of like a
Oh,
couple
that's
of
awesome.
blocks.
So you get to
Awesome.
spoil them.
Yeah,
You get to be the cool uncle that spoils them with everything. That's awesome.
the
yeah.
Funkle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
That's
two
what you need,
nieces.
Dan. You need some Funkle t-shirts.
Yeah.
That'll get that merch moving.
I always want to have like a diaper bag, but it's just like, or just something fun. But there's not a lot of cool brands out there.
A branded diaper bag isn't a bad idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah, make it for the cool dad. The guy, like the thing is
Yeah.
with merch for dads, it has to be something that you see that and you would want it if it wasn't even related.
Even if
to
it wasn't
the
about
topic.
the dad pod. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like you're like, oh, that's a cool bag for. I'll carry diapers in that. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
so you find the right type of bag, and then whether you put your logo on it or you write just like you come up with like a funny thing to call it. Just make up like just something like a cool name for it, and then
Mhm.
dads will like that. Because I had to carry around like a big flowery, like just bulbous one that someone got us for the baby shower. And I mean, you get over it very quickly, but
yeah,
it would have
but
been
it's still
cool to
like-
have a cool like man satchel. That's okay. The man satchel. There we go. We're already onto something.
I mean, I do carry a bag, but it's just for my phone and my wallet.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it would be kind of cool. I mean, I don't have kids now, but one day I'm gonna have some
Yeah.
kids. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of want to adopt. So I mean,
Oh,
Oh,
really?
that's cool.
I mean, I've been been talking about it. So
That's
That's-
how it starts.
There's a show on Apple TV Plus called Trying, and if you haven't seen it, it's a sitcom that's kind of like a drama at times as well, and it's about a couple in England that is trying to start a family, and the whole point is that like they're trying, it's not working very well. And I think you could probably see this through the trailer for the show, but they turn to adoption. And
Oh.
you mentioning that just made me think of the show. And it's a very funny, very honest, sincere look at the transition from like your independent life to the life of a parent, and how like nobody knows what they're doing. And so
Yeah.
the theme of the show kind of turns from like trying to start a family to just trying your best at everyday
just
life.
waking up and just trying to survive. Yeah.
It's a very, very good show. It hit Beth and I at a really good time. And like, it just is really identifiable, I think. So
That's cool.
you should check that out.
I
How's it-
also saw a show. I think it was. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna ask you, how do you guys come up with your ideas for your podcast? Because like the topics.
So
I think a decent amount of it is just like what's going on with us. Like, so when we don't do a ton of pre-planning as far as like show notes are concerned. We usually pick a recording day. We'll do 2, 3, 4 episodes at a time, and right before we record, we kind of like rough sketch out what it's going to be about. Oh,
Uh-oh. Well, we can keep talking.
Are you guys
Daniel
there?
cut out for those of you watching.
yeah. This is still recording.
Still
so
recording,
okay.
yeah.
So I guess hopefully he can hop back in soon. I'll continue, I guess. We kind of we just rough sketch out some ideas as far as like what we might want to talk about. It could be informed by an article we saw or something going around on social media that just sort of gets the wheels turning and makes us think about how it applies to us, if at all. We do other segments too, like kind of would you rather type questions and questions from a board game deck called Huga, which is just like I think it's a Dutch word. Is that right, Pete?
Yeah. Yes.
And it's designed to just spark
genuine
communication and conversation. Yeah. So we'll ask each other questions from that just to sort of get the ball rolling. We do like highs and lows of the week. But yeah, usually we have like an ongoing shared document that's full of very loose ideas, I think.
Yeah.
That come up from just like conversations with other parents and our spouses and stuff like that. So
we're just finding tiny cracks in the armor, and then we just have to talk about them. And a lot of it too is just like you said, we don't plan it out as much as I just have maybe like 2 or 3 prompted questions because I don't know what you're going to say and you don't know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And then we just let it rip. And it's the biggest thing is it's unfiltered. It's like sometimes it's like a therapy session. Sometimes it's like,
oh, for sure,
truth talk only. And other times we're just goofy. Sometimes, we want it to be a really true look at the modern millennial dad experience from our perspective. And that's it. I mean, not all people are the same. There are people that just like us. And if they like the stuff that we're talking about and they can relate to it, that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mostly the target when we started the show was like relatable content, honest, like sincere stuff, because, I think anyone going into being a first-time parent would be pretty confident in saying they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And so that can be a scary thought, I think, at first. But if you, in my experience anyway, if you kind of surrender to that uncertainty, it can help a lot. Like you can just be like, this is going to be the hardest thing I'm ever going to do, full stop. And you just take it from there. So the sort of ethos of Super Secret Dad Club is to validate and normalize and just like talk about the differences between our upbringing and what we're doing for our kids, as well as we're trying to branch into some mom content as well, which is fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
now that we finally have that a little hashed out.
Yeah. And yeah, I think without getting like too in the weeds, that's what's going on.
Yeah. So hopefully his computer comes back on soon. But what else can we talk about? Let's think.
I don't know. I also we're on this platform here called Riverside that
you can't
that was
see
set
me?
up kind of for us to come in here and chat. And I don't know if like we pause and wait, if he'll be able to cut out a big section.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, what?
My phone is on Do Not Disturb. I haven't checked my messages.
We should see it. So for you those watching, this is us seeing if he messaged us.
What?
I don't see anything.
Nope.
How do I?
He's probably frantically trying to. I'd be frantically trying to get some computer.
Yeah, me
up.
too. I mean,
it's a funny story about setting this computer up for this because for those of you who don't know our podcast yet, we don't record video just because we want to keep our podcast fun and it's just cumbersome. We have all
and easy
I'm
to
literally
make.
sitting in a video studio right now, but it's just right now we just want to keep this
What the
bare
heck?
bones, just focus on the
How
content.
do I?
So I got a laptop in this room to record this.
Oh no!
And I didn't even realize that
Oh no!
the laptop has the new USB-Cs, and I just needed to put my microphone. My microphone connects via USB, so I'm using like a 2011
Oh no! How am I gonna log out?
laptop. I was like hoping it would boot up.
Oh no!
Because I needed a USB.
Oh yeah,
port.
okay, for your interface, yeah.
So I immediately as I was setting this up, I just hopped on Amazon. I was like, this will be here tomorrow, so I never have to worry about this again.
Yeah, I keep my interface plugged into my mic, plugged into it, and it just tucks behind my computer. So it's like podcast time. I can just like
I took my focus right out. Yeah, I took my focus right out from the other because it's only I unplugged one thing. So
yeah. Well,
so if you haven't checked us out, Super Secret Dad Club on Instagram, we are hoping to, like we mentioned, put out some more fun video content for the songs we're doing. we're going to start getting into some children's songs that I've written that Derek's going to help me produce. And yeah, eventually we'll have some cool t-shirts and stuff. Oh, he's back.
Here he is. He's on his.
I'm freaking out.
There
on
he
this other
is.
side.
That's okay.
Oh, that's all right. We
kept it going.
We held
You're
it
fine.
together. We're seasoned vets. It's all right.
I was
You're
like,
good.
oh my gosh, what am I gonna do?
No, it's good. We were just shooting we kept answering your your question.
Yeah, so
And-
we kind of touched on how we start the show and how we come up with segments and things like that, and got into a little bit of the background of like what it is what our goals are.
Well,
kind of for
you
the
guys
show.
are still on, but my face was still recording, so I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Oh goodness. Well,
Huh.
hopefully it all shakes out okay.
Mhm.
Do you see Daniel on your screen right now?
I do not.
Yeah, it says I can hear you, but I can't see you.
That's okay though.
Oh well.
Well,
Yeah,
I can
it's
see
recording
you
your voice,
guys,
that's
so
what
I don't know.
Okay,
Um,
that's fine. We can keep going.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we're ready when you are.
All right. So you guys want to? Well, you were talking about your show, how you started it. So
Do you want to go back and cut what we said and
just
just
move
say it
on,
again,
just
or do you want us to just move on?
and then I'll just
figure
figure it out when
All
I
right, cool.
upload this or figure it. So what's a day in the life
Right.
as a dad for both of you?
That's a good
This
question.
is a good question. Actually, we just I think it went out last week. We talked about how because Derek's a work from home dad and I'm a stay at home dad because, like I mentioned earlier, that I'm not in the day to day of the business that I own. So I'll start with this day to day for me. I wake up with my kid usually around 7:30, 8 o'clock ish. She goes to school
man.
2 days a week from preschool.
I am jealous
So-
of that time.
So
Very
I have
jealous of
about
that
3
time of day.
hours on a Tuesday and a Thursday to do. That's when I do my podcast editing and try to get stuff out, and if I can, amongst other things. And then I'm literally, I have to be on as dad. I cook all 3 meals for the family. I do the grocery shopping, the chores, take care of the household. My wife works, our business is here in the house. We have an office in our house, and so she's here. And she has meetings. She only works usually 10 to 2:30, and then we have family time after 2:30, unless there's like a really important meeting she has to have. And then so I'm having to schedule, when library time, when it's nice out, going to the park, play dates. She's in gymnastics, bring her to that. It's starting to get really busy because she's a 4-year-old that's doing the real kid stuff now. It's no more toddler, so playing with her is more interactive. Because usually when they're toddlers, Derek, you can just like kind of bebop around with them, but now it's like
yeah.
I have to be on.
Yeah, like
So
taking
that-
them to the grocery store is the big event for the day kind of thing
Yeah.
with a toddler. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now it's like, do I have to go grocery shopping? So it's like, what are we
Yeah.
going to do for fun? So yeah, I have to always come up with, I come up with ideas on what crafts we can do, what activities we can do. And that's where you go to the internet for those. We've talked about that on our podcast before of like how we use the internet to parent. And I know that Derek mentioned that he's not quite there yet, but once you get to that point of like, oh no, I have like 4 hours and there's nothing on the docket. Like I have to come up with that pretty quick. And then I cook and clean dinner, and then we have about a couple hours. She usually the bedtime routine starts at 7, and she's usually, we're out of her room by 8. So that's
Nice.
my day right now as a dad.
My day starts when Jack wakes up, which is, or my alarm. Ideally, the alarm, which is 6:30. But lately, we're in a really long stretch of Jack waking up at like 5:30 or so. So the
Yeah.
day just starts early, and they turn into pretty long days as a result. So we get him up, start puttering around the house. I get his lunch ready for daycare. We get dressed. He usually wants to read some books in the morning and stuff like that. Sometimes he'll fall back asleep, but not always. And then let's see, I take him off to daycare because it's just easier for me as a work from home dad. I have the flexibility with my work schedule that I can sign on kind of, just in the morning. And so I take him to daycare in the morning and then come home and sign on at work, usually by like 7:45, 7:30 or so. And then I work till like 4. After that, I have about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes to myself that I'm not working. Beth has not picked up Jack from daycare. She does pick up on her way home from work. So that's when I'm doing stuff like errands and chores. Most of the time though, I'm listening to an audiobook and cleaning the house or doing dishes or something like that, just sort of puttering around. It's my kind of time away from screens after work. Cause I work in this office. I have a massive array of screens at my desk for work. So I enjoy having a little bit of unplugged time where I can just listen to a book or a podcast or something and keep going. And then I also do all the cooking and food shopping and stuff. So, I make dinner. We're in that weird stretch right now where Jack's bedtime kind of falls right when we would want to be doing dinner as a family. So a lot of times he'll eat early and then we'll eat after he goes down, which is kind of sometimes, like now-ish, give or take, depending on the day. We do eat together. I know that's like a big thing for parenting is to have meals together and stuff. And we really try, but it's really challenging to leave work, walk downstairs and immediately start cooking.
So, yeah.
I just don't have that kind of drive.
You need that relaxed time for sure. Otherwise you go crazy.
Yeah. Cause it's just switching from one type of work to another and which is fine. It's just, I can't, I don't know. I like my book. I want to listen to it. I want to hang out on the couch for a few minutes and just sort of disconnect for a while. Yeah. Sit in the quiet, turn my brain off. So then, bath time, bedtime after that. And afterwards, that's kind of we're on to solo time. Me and Beth, we're just hanging out, watching TV. I play video games a decent amount, play guitar a decent amount, stuff like that.
Sweet. Yeah, I was thinking about, you said about dinner. And what we ended up doing was just taking the toddler's dinner time as our own. So I literally need to eat dinner at 4:45 to 5:15 window.
Yeah,
that's my window. We recently went to a fancy dinner with one of our clients, and dinner wasn't until 7:45 or 8 o'clock. And I was like, I might pass out.
I hate this. Yeah, I know. We eat a lot later.
The plus side to going to dinner at 4:45, or if you go to a restaurant, get there at 4:30. By the time you get your food, it's 5 o'clock. Is that no one's ever there, and you get happy hour specials.
So that's a pro tip.
That's what we learned. Once your kids 3, 4, and 5, and they start eating out at restaurants, they actually need their own meal. You usually get their meal for $3.
So do you guys have
nice?
Is it hard for you guys to sit at a table with your kids, if they're not paying attention?
I don't know. I haven't really thought of that. I think I don't have a hard time sitting there with him because it's also around the time, that Beth gets home and then usually half an hour later we're at the table doing food for him. So that's our time to sort of talk and chat about our day and see what's going on. But I don't find it difficult. What I find difficult is when he's being difficult.
Right.
Which is well,
yeah. It's difficult when your child's difficult.
Because there's just things I don't want to eat this today. Well, I don't have anything else for you, and this is not a restaurant. So really trying to, keep that boundary and stuff. But it's sometimes it's hard when I work for me right now is pretty wild and very busy. So when he comes home and he's melting down, I have a pretty short fuse for that sometimes, which I don't love, but it's just I can't deal with the fussing and the whining at the table when I just had a hard day at work.
Yeah. Don't you know my struggles?
Yeah.
You got all these struggles.
I was I'm tired.
Yeah.
So
for me, we actually have never had any issues. So I mentioned earlier that we work from home as a my wife works here. I'm here. So I cook the 3 meals a day. We eat together 3 meals at a table every day since she's been born. So dinner time to us is we're at the table in our chairs eating together, all eating the same meal. We never did the separate meal for the kid thing. There's still stuff now. She's like, I don't really want that. I was like, well, this is what we're having, and she'll eat it. So yeah, it's been great. This week's obviously very challenging. So I mentioned off before we recorded, my wife has got COVID. So I've been like playing butler, where I have to like mask up, bring up a tray to her, and then like go downstairs and do Lacey, and then like do all the dishes, and like so it's been pretty crazy. But
you're gonna need a week off.
I know, but
after this.
Hopefully it's not getting COVID as my week off.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I think there's definitely something to eating if you can, and obviously like Derek and I have mentioned ad nauseum on our podcast, it's tough for the working individual who has to go to either out of the house to work, or you're working all day, to manage that time, because you get home and it's like 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. That's all you have with them, and they have to go to
really
bed.
Short time.
You're trying to do all you need to do, and so a lot of people just do what works for them. And for us, like I mentioned, it was eating together. And what I really liked about that, and I'm sure everyone would like it, is that we've noticed when we go to other people's houses for parties and things, when it's time to eat, Lacey knows to go sit in her chair and eat her food until eating time's over. Whereas a lot of other kids will just like get up and run around in the middle of the meal, or they'll watch the TV, they'll go to the other room, watch TV and not eat. And the parents are always just trying to nag them to get back to the chair. And so thankful we didn't have to deal with that. And I totally understand why that happens. Like, I'm not shaming anybody if that is your kid.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen to us, honestly.
I'm just so thankful that like, she's like, yep, it's mealtime. And once mealtime's over, then you can go, So that's been a very helpful thing.
Yeah, so we're working really hard on like if we're eating, a lot of times we'll have a snack while Jack is eating, just to like demonstrate that we sit at the table and eat. We're just not eating our like full dinner at the time.
Yeah.
So, and Jack had a lot of like trouble with sleep training early on, so we had to do very early bedtimes for a long time, which just like there's no way we can have dinner before 5:30 and get him in bed by 5:45. And it was crazy. So we're out of the woods there, but I want to get like table time going more. It's such a heavy lift right now.
Yeah, I think you're in that like no man's land of his age. I think in about 6 months that'll completely change, when his bedtime can be pushed back a little bit by whether it's a half an hour or 45 minutes. And then you'll find yourself with a little bit of extra time to do that. And once he's a little bit old, he's not going to remember that you're not eating with him now. Right. I mean, it obviously helps the good habits by displaying what you want him to do. Like you said, you're still there with him eating something. But I think in like I said, another like 6 to 10 months, you'll see like, oh, okay, there might be a little.
And a lot of times, like he'll be eating and Beth is feeding him and stuff and having a snack, and I'm cooking like our food, right? I'll be doing something else, but the kitchen's right there, so we're still all together.
Was it hard for you guys I know your daughter, but do you think did you have problems with pie churning at the time?
Oh, potty training. We're not there yet, but yeah.
So
you guys did that 3-day method, right?
So yeah, we eventually turned to the 3-day method. What happened was we kind of like jumped the gun a little bit early, just because we heard you could do it earlier if your kid's up for it, and we were home, and I was like, well, why not try? So we'd have one of those little potties, and we'd keep it in the living room, and we try to sit her on it, but she was too young to understand what's going on. But when we really tried to start was every time she'd go to take a bath, she ended up peeing in the bathtub, and I was like, okay, so before we put her in the bathtub, let's just put her in the toilet. And so she was a tiny baby, she was like under 2, and we were putting her on the toilet, and she was peeing in the toilet, which was like, whoa. Yeah. But we realized after a while that was kind of a moot point, because she couldn't actually get to the toilet on her own at that point. She couldn't get up and onto it because she was still too small. So I was like, all right, let's just pump the brakes on this. And then we decided eventually, when she was ready, like we're like, okay, this is time. I think she was 2.5-ish, almost 3, 2.5. We just did the 3-day method, where they don't have a diaper on, and they just go around for 3 days with no diaper, and so they can feel what happens when they go to the bathroom. So yes, there's messes to clean up. You're prepared for it. You get the paper towels and the spray ready, and just know what you're in for. And then, but the key to that whole thing,
that's very effective, though.
It's very effective. So what you do is you start out naked baby, then you go to just one layer of pants or underwear or whatever, so they can feel it go down the pants. But the key to the whole thing is you don't put them back in a diaper. And that's
Yeah.
very tricky because all of a sudden you're 5 days into it and you haven't left the house because you're petrified, but you have to bring her somewhere in the car and you're like, oh no. So what we did, aside from frantically being like, do you have to go now? Do you have to go now? Do you have to go now? we got this little car potty. It's literally just a toilet seat with two legs that fold down. So it folds up really small, and they come with plastic bags that you put in, and that was in her diaper bag at all times. So we were it was fall. We were at the Deerfield Fair, and I just popped that behind like a little a little food stand. Like she's like, I gotta go now. I'm like, I can't get her to like a porta potty or anything. So we use that all the time. Even she'd say, we're driving down the highway, Daddy, I have to go now. I'd pull over, we'd pop it out. We have a 3-row SUV, so I was able to, and we have captain's chairs in the middle, so there's a floor spot. And so I was able to just put it right on the floor. We would unclip her, put her in there. She'd go to the bathroom. We'd tie it up and just keep going on our way. And so, like I mentioned, the key to that is not putting them back in the diapers so that they get confidence. The only time she'd wear a diaper was overnight, and then eventually that changed to a pull-up, and then eventually, actually I think she said, like, Daddy, I don't want to wear these anymore. And I was like, hey, it's up to you, man. Let's do this. And a pro tip for when that happens, because changing bed sheets is a pain in the butt.
Layer it.
Here's what we have. We have our mattress protector, but then we got this, like, I don't know, 2 by 3 foot mattress pad protector, but it's just like a sheet that you put over that. And then there's the sheets. And so when she goes to the bathroom, you just have to do the sheets and that one mattress pad that's mattress protector still on your thing, and you just put another sheet down and just you're on your way. The first couple of times we didn't do that, and we had to take the mattress protector off and then be like, I hope she doesn't do this again, because now it's just
we
mattress.
Jack has always slept on a waterproof mattress pad, just for blowouts or whatever it might be. Yeah. And so I think it was for some reason we had set this up. He might have been sick or something like that, but we were just layering, mattress pad, and then like sheet, mattress pad. So in the night you could just rip off a layer and throw it in the laundry and go back to bed.
And I remember, that just reminded me of the transition. So what happened was she did a very good job potty training, but she was still in a crib because she didn't need to transition to the toddler bed where she can get out herself. And so we had to actually, because she was doing so well potty training, we didn't want to she just couldn't get out of her crib to go to the bathroom. So what we did is we had to transition her to her potty, to her toddler bed, and then we put that little potty next to her bed in her room because she was still too small to be like wandering about the house and getting up to the big toilet on her own. Yeah. So we put up a little dog gate on her doorway so she couldn't leave the room once we got the toddler bed because she was still very young. But she had a toilet in her room, and then she would just get up and go to the bathroom on her own, and that's what gave her the confidence to say, okay, I don't need these overnight underwear anymore. I don't know if that's the best way. It's just what happened in my house.
Well, my sister did the 3-day process, or the weekend process you have to go through. I mean, it did work. I mean, everybody's
I've heard it works. Like, it's messy, but I've never heard anyone say it didn't work for them. And if it doesn't, it's probably because your kid's too young.
Like, you're not done after 3 days, but that first 3 days is the most crucial to be like, we're doing this now. And then it's about, 6 months of just without nagging them, because you don't want this to be a thing where they're like resisting what you're asking them to do. Yeah. But just a little check-in, like, hey, and it's so hard too when you've asked them like 6 times, do you need to go to the bathroom? And then all of a sudden they pee through everything on the carpet, and it's just, or the couch. And I was like, man, trying to, like, you have to, like, the biggest thing is to keep your cool there. And it's like, so
well, this
hard.
Is what I was asking you about.
You're like, dude, I just said this.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it with my niece. She's been having, I think she's much better now, but yeah, when they started it was not going well for her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's just like, it's kind of like training a dog. It's like, you just have to be super consistent. Like, you have to just be on it. And if you're busy, like a lot of us are, and you're working, or even if like you hand them off to daycare, you come home, daycare does something different than you do, and then it's just like the philosophies are off, and then it can be a little bit of a learning curve.
I know at some point our daycare won't move him up into the next room, like the next level, until he's potty trained. Like, they put that on the parents, and like that is a criteria at some point.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of activities like when you want to start bringing your toddler places that you have to be potty trained. So when she started dance, she did that all last year. So she started when she was 2. She had turned 3 like a month and a half into it. She was the youngest one in the class, but they let her come in because she could talk very well and she could do everything and follow instructions. So that was a big like milestone for us. And then she'd have like story time at the library. They have like class you can sign up for, and you had to be potty trained for that. And so there's a lot of reasons why that we have her like incentivized to make sure like let's do this for by the time she's 3.
That's good to know. So what's your like goal for this podcast?
For Super Secret Dad Club, what's the goal? To keep doing it.
Yeah, I think right now
I want to like I want the show to grow for sure.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about starting up like a more of an online community, whether that be through Discord, most likely. We have one for my other podcast, and it's a lot of fun. So I would love to set up like an online community for people. I haven't done that yet, but I think we want to get some guests on at some point. We want to get moms on. We want to get like people with kids of varying ages, because like right now Pete and I both have like our kids are very different in very different stages from each other, but we're still in that like under 5 bracket, which is
so there's so much that we don't even talk about being a dad, parenting, because we don't have that experience yet.
Yeah, I would love to chat with someone who's got kids who are older, like 10 and under, 15 and under, 20 and under, and just see just hear
even
about that.
Even like multi-generational, like even if a couple like grandparents or whatever just talking, just getting perspective on it and just comparing and sharing different stories of like how things are and where you're at with it, just to shine a light on where we are. I think for me, with the goal of the show, I want to have fun doing this, fun talking about being a dad. That's like the basis of our show is basically like keep it fun,
to keep that as the core,
keep it creative. And Derek and I are obviously, we mentioned we're creatives, and so this is kind of our outlet to finally collaborate on something. The show is our core content, but we're very excited just to be able to like do all our hobbies together, and this will be the outlet that it gets put out as. And like grow the show. I don't think we need to be like a top podcast or anything. I'm not like looking to like become my claim to fame. But it would be great to have a fun community to share stories with, to shine a light on things, to have people relate. That's the biggest thing, is we want to be relatable to the people like us.
A year and a half ago when I became a dad, it was like just an absolute tailspin of like what is anything, right? And there aren't a lot of, I found at the time, there weren't a lot of dad specific resources that fit me as like an individual. There was a lot more focus on sort of like masculinity and stuff like that, more about like the manhood type of angle and stuff, which like I'm not very interested in.
The traditional
approach
dad
of like of what men face, I guess. But I was not really interested in that narrative, and I'm still not, and I'm not. I don't know. Like, I guess I wouldn't call myself like an emotional person, but I'm aware of my feelings and stuff. And a lot of these existing platforms out there were a little bit too macho for me, a little bit too like tough guy for me. And I was like, look, I think if you ask any dad in the truest sense how they feel about all of this, they're going to say they're overwhelmed, and they're going to say that they're scared and exhausted and all kinds of things. And I was like, where's that? Well, that's what I want to hear. I need some validation from my own perspective. And so we were like, let's bring that to the table, because I can't find it reliably anywhere else. And podcasts are such a great way to absorb info like that, so it just felt very natural. And like I said before, I've been podcasting for a long time, so it felt like an easy thing to add to my life. So
Yeah, he hit the nail on the head. It's definitely just, I felt our specific, we're in like the elder millennial generation here. It was a little bit underserved here in terms of just talking about how real and how raw this stuff can be, and having kind of having the balls to share it publicly and talk about it. And you and I sit here and have conversations and just get really into the weeds on like, hey man, this sucks, and what can I do about it? Or
or this sucks, or like I blew it with this thing, or like that we face like parenting fails and stuff. Not like funny fails and stuff, but like we do highs and lows on our show. And it's a low, could be anything from like, I got an offender bender, which is not related to my kid whatsoever, to my kid won't sleep anymore. And it's driving me batty, right? Or just stuff like that. We try to keep it real,
Yeah, and it's not just like, we don't just sit here and talk about being dads. We talk about being guys in this culture and in our society. We talk about, just stuff that just goes on at our age in our lives right now. And it all ties back to the whole, if you're the middle of the Venn diagrams that we're dads, but we try to like kind of touch on all those fun things.
Which is why like our recent episode about work, I thought was a good, like, not diversion, but like a good like venture away from specific parenting dad stuff to like, this is another major part of the picture for us, which is, our professional lives and or our time away from like fun family time. There's plenty of not fun family time, and it's not that it's bad, it's just like the stuff, right? It's just all the other minutia that comes with starting a family. So we're just trying to like be transparent, and hopefully somebody finds some comfort in that.
Yeah, we're not just only talking about the bad part of it, but we're just talking. We're just saying we're not shy about talking about those things when they happen. We're gonna
right. Nor is it 30 minutes of just complaining. It's not that.
Oh yeah, no. We're here to have fun, and that's why
it's an hour of complaining.
This is our whining session. Welcome. No, but that's why we have those fun segments on the show where we ask questions. We keep it we keep it moving. We want the show to be something fun that you can have on. We don't want it to be too long.
We should be better about that. But yeah.
Yeah, well, the problem. So the problem is the segments have been too much fun to talk about.
I think the problem is that we were friends. Right?
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know, because the feedback we've gotten is like, hey, I feel like I'm really the camaraderie has been great, and that's what really makes the show for me, is that I get
I think that's true for any podcast. Like if there's good rapport between hosts or between like host and guest or something like that. That's.
I mean, how about your music podcast? So, tell me a little bit more about your music, Derek.
Sure. So it's the podcast called The Tone Control, and you can find it anywhere that you can find podcasts. We just did our, let me check, 200, and we post every other week because that's just how it started for us, and tends to be a good cadence for us because we tend to talk about a lot of guitar gear that's new and like new releases and stuff like that, but that's not breaking news, and we don't need to be out there all the time with like the hot content. We're more talking about like what it means as players, and my co-host over there, Justin, is an audio engineer. I've played in bands with him, and he's also now like a full-time studio engineer and producer at his home studio. So we just did our 257th episode across like 10 and a half years. So we're doing like one episode every 2 weeks, and it's about an hour and 20 probably. And originally it was focused on like, I'm more of a player, and Justin's more of a producer engineer with instrumental backgrounds and stuff. But I don't know a lot about production and engineering and stuff like that. So we were trying to come at it from two angles and cast a wider net of expertise. And that's still largely there, but it's kind of just turned into more of like a commentary show on the state of the music creation industry, not just the music business as like pop stars and Hollywood and stuff like that, but actually like the nuts and bolts of technology in that space, and brand strategies and recognition and stuff like that about these legacy companies that have a lot of skin in the game still. So we do like gear demos, we do raffles and giveaways and stuff like that. Like I said before, we have a Discord community, which is really fun. We have a small but mighty following. And at the time the show started because Justin and I would just talk about, oh, did you see this new pedal, this new guitar, this new amp from such and such company? All the time. It was just a very common, we would talk about it at band practice, we'd be texting about it. And then we said, we should just start a podcast, like just hit record on this conversation, because I think we're like, it's good. And, 257 episodes later, we're still doing it.
That's great.
But we've had some really fun guests over the years, whether they be musicians or manufacturers or just anything in between, studio people, stuff like that. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I do music as
And it's a total joke too, but it's like we're just there for a good time also. So it's a lot of jokes.
Is there
and a lot
any
of fun.
like a fun episode you'd like to do on that show?
Oh,
Yeah.
if I had to recommend an episode, you mean? I'm not sure. That's a tough question. I'm trying to think of like notable episodes. We spoke with Rhett Shull. That's like by far and away our most popular episode. It was kind of right before the second wave of his YouTube career. We've spoken with, I think the episode with Doug Cower of Cower Guitars was really good. We spoke with Joey Landreth of the Brothers Landreth, the Canadian like folk rock band. He's an awesome guy. I've met him a couple times now. What else? I don't know. We used to do kind of like NAMM recaps. NAMM is happening right now. It's a trade show for guitar stuff and music, the music industry. It stands for National Association of Music Merchants, so NAMMA. And it's just basically the big guitar trade show. So there's always a lot of news coming out around this time of year in the community and stuff. So we have some episodes on that are fun. I would not recommend the most recent episode because all we did was recap our previous year of like listener stats. So that's probably not a very good one, but it's still just, you can kind of dip in at any time. There's no consistency across, like there's no continued thread from episode to episode. It's just like a casual hangout with two guys who like to talk about guitar gear.
I mean, I've interviewed really some good people in the music industry. So I'm kind of happy that I have the experience in doing that. I've interviewed Rachel Ray's husband, John Cusimano. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
A couple of times.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I was trying to get a hold of Rachel Ray, but I got a hold of her husband.
Nice.
So I guess it's
It's pretty close.
Yeah, I was gonna say, take what you can get at that point, right?
Yeah. And some other great guys that, like Brody Buster. He's a kind of great musician in Kansas City that everybody's loves because he's a jazz musician.
Right on. Yeah, I'm hoping to get some more guests on in 2024. It's tricky because we're a pretty small operation at the Tone Control, so we don't have a lot of like listener stat clout to throw around and be like, we have like a zillion listeners and you should come on our show. But like, a lot of times I just message people because like it's worth a shot. I've messaged with Corey Wong a few times, just like, hey man, you want to come on our podcast and talk about guitars? And he's like, yeah, but I'm on tour, so I can't. I'm like, oh, damn. Or just like people are just cool about it. Like, hey, we like what you do and we talk about gear and stuff. Are you down? And a lot of times they are.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
It's hard. It's hard trying to just message people, and some people don't really. It's hard. I'll tell you that it's hard trying to find people to. It's already hard for getting people to come on my podcast for the Uncles in Fatherhood because some people just don't really want to be on the internet, or they just don't want to chat.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about eventually having guests on our show, and I just know that it's just another job to have to go send out the messages, respond to everybody, set up a schedule, do the whole thing. So it's like a chore to do, and that's if you get people, and then you have to do the interviews and cut them into your episode, and so
Especially
I totally
if they're
get
not
it.
local.
Yeah,
Like it can be really challenging if they're not local to us.
yeah.
We have a mutual friend from college that now lives in Sweden and is taking full advantage of their 1 year paternity leave system over there. And he was like, I'd love to chat about this with you guys. I'm like, yeah, I too would love to chat about this, but we haven't even opened that can of worms because time zones alone would make it insane. Never mind that he's on the other side of the world. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
you know,
Yeah,
I've done
like you
it.
said,
I've done
we'll
it a couple of
eventually get
times,
there.
but I mean, I don't really want to do it again. It's just too difficult.
yeah.
Totally difficult.
Yeah.
Too late in the game for that. I don't want to deal with that. I would. When I was on my other podcast, Two Guys in a Sound System, I did have a co-host with it when I was in college, and it was the best. Now it's just like it's hard to do it by yourself.
Yeah. It is hard. Yeah, I've not really done it by myself. I listened to a handful of podcasts that were just a single person, and it takes a lot of work to make it like organic, I think.
Yeah, just to keep it moving. You have to play both parts at once.
And it's got to be like pretty tightly, not rehearsed necessarily, but close.
Yeah, there can't be a lot of just gobbledygook ums and discourse. It's all over the map. I couldn't do it. I can barely keep one sentence together talking to somebody. So my brain works too fast. My mouth, it's just all.
I mean,
it works out.
So
it works out with a
Two
team.
Guys in a Sound System. I do a lot of interviews, but I also play their music. So when I play their music, it's not the music that coming from the record label. It's coming from themselves. So I'm not. So it's not like I'm stealing the music and getting a bad.
Right. Yeah, we've done that. We've pushed in songs from artists that we've had on. It's a really fun fun thing to add to the show.
I mean,
actually, I don't know if you noticed, Eric, but you mentioned you wanted outro music, so I slapped on
notice.
The last episode. I was like, this will be fun.
Yeah,
so I was actually thinking we could actually discuss it right here. Maybe we put on a different one of our little like short 30-second funny dad songs at the end.
Oh yeah,
and just keep it up, switching it up, and like you'll have repeats here and there because we don't have that many songs. But I think that'd be fun. I don't know.
That's really fun.
That's what I was thinking about. As I slapped that in there, I was like, oh, this is a great outro for this.
That's also a good prompt for us to keep those things short. Right, to keep them brief and like so we can throw them at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So
I'm going for like 30 to 40 seconds max on those. Although the rap one that hasn't come out yet, that has the intro, the little intro, so that's like that takes up like 15 seconds.
Yeah,
so
true.
Yeah. I tried Daniel. I tried my hand at some like kind of like Run DMC / Beastie Boys rapping of a song called "Put Your Shoes On," talking to little ones. So that will come out hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I gotta get that video recorded.
There is a father that follows me,
fun.
And I guess he's a music guy, but he does have a Spotify account, and he has like tons of these crazy songs.
Oh, I think he actually he DM'd us today actually, and I just checked it out like an hour before we got on here.
Oh damn!
Yeah, it's like he calls it like the Beastie Boys for kids. And I did see that. I responded to him and I was like, "This is literally right up our alley. This is like exactly the type of thing that like we find fun to do." But we like what I like is I like just going all like multi-genre. Like I don't care whatever like the idea pops into my head. I will go 80s synth pop, or I will go early 90s rap, or I will go pop punk from 2002, or I'll go like classic rock. Like it doesn't matter as long as it fits like what I'm, the message of the funny song we're singing. So that's the most fun for me, is just to like play around in different genres and just have fun with it, because I get too in my head about trying to be a serious musician, and then I get, that whole imposter syndrome and like, everyone, doubting me, all this stuff gets in my head when I think it's like, this is my music I'm putting out to the world. But when I'm making silly songs for dad stuff, I can totally just use my talents for that, and I don't have any of those thoughts of like second guessing myself. It's like, put it out there.
Like,
and I'm producing them, and I'm not even confident in my producing skills. I'm like, that's good enough. No one really cares.
It's just right. And what's the saying? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah.
And that's I carry that ethos a lot. and when doing I do a lot of the instrumentation for those. So like, yeah, I could probably dial in a better guitar tone and probably do a better take, but I've got grocery shopping to do, right? Yeah. Like I've got life to live, and I'm not taking it as seriously as I would take music that I was writing for like an original band, which I've done a zillion times before. Like I take that like far more seriously, but this is just like, okay, so the vibe is like, sort of 1999 era MTV, like alternative rock.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, generally what I'll do is I'll pick like a random song will pop into my head, and I'll start like not singing to that vibe, to that, like not like parodying it, but I'll like pop into my head and I'm like, oh, I love the way that like whatever instrumentation sounds like, and that sticks in my head. So then what I'll do is I'll go and I'll just look up the key and the BPM of the song, and that's all so that way I don't have to make those creative decisions, and I just put my project in that, and then I just go, and that's how I come up with all of that. And I'll lay it down, and usually what I'll do is if it has guitars, I'll either track them and then send it to Derek and be like, do this better, please. Or he'll come up with ideas, send them to me, and then I'll add, extra flair of all these other instruments and singing a million layers of my voice. Yeah.
That's fun. So what's like the next kind of topic you're going to talk about on your podcasts?
So the next episode that's out, we recorded already. It comes out next Wednesday. So we have our episodes come out every Wednesday around like 8 a.m. I don't know why I just scheduled it that time. But
good time. That's when I've scheduled Tone Control. Mondays at 8.
Yeah, perfect. So Wednesdays in the 8 o'clock hour somewhere. Sometimes I keep you on your toes. It could be 8:17. I don't know. But so this past week was about working from home and being a stay-at-home dad and all that encompasses that. And then next week, the next episode is going to be about screen time. And it's not necessarily a dad topic, but it is something that affects our parenting. Is like not screen time for children, but screen time for ourselves. And mainly I wanted to talk about this topic on our podcast because 2 years ago, I made a YouTube video. I had a YouTube channel. I still have the channel. I don't really post to it anymore, but I had a YouTube channel, and I posted a video that I did a 30-day social media detox, and it was kind of like a scientific experiment the way I approached it. And I had this whole monologue straight to talking to the camera that like I wrote kind of like an essay. And then in between, I would do cut scenes of me doing while I was in the detox. And at the end, I do a recap, and I have all the stats of where my phone numbers were at the beginning and at the end. And I gave all the results I got. And so that video's got like 20,000 views. And it was really cool. And so I decided that I noticed the other day that my screen time habits have it like even worse. So I've like basically relapsed. So I wanted to talk about that on the podcast because in February, starting February 1st, I'm going to do another, like my Detox 2.0, and I'm going to talk about it on Instagram and on the podcast as it's happening to see how it helps my parenting, because that way I'm not just going to my phone for those moments of, you just need to check out. Like Derek said, like you do need to relax, but I don't want to just be glued to my phone during those times, because it oftentimes will affect my mental just well-being. Sometimes you see something that you get ticked off about, or something that this or that, you just don't know what you're going to scroll into. So so I'm going to try to do that in February, so I'm very excited about that. And so that'll be next Wednesday, and then we have to be recording. We're
going to wing it after that.
We're going to record. We got to figure out the next couple topics and just keep going after that.
So what do you do? Do you have any I know that your kids are already young, but for screen time, are you I know I don't think your kids are going into anything bad on screen time, but I mean, I guess if they're watching TV too long.
Yeah. So we did, we went and we're very strict about the no, like, it wasn't zero screen time under 2 years old, but that all the statistics and everything show that your child's formative parts of their brain will be way better developed without screens when they're under 2 years old. Once they're 2 years old, about an hour of screen time a day is okay. And so she didn't really watch anything until she was about 1.5-ish. And if she did watch something, it was maybe like 20 minutes of like Elmo, like once or twice a week. Just probably because we were sick or we just needed, you needed that moment.
Yeah.
But now she's 4. And so this past week, she's watched a lot of TV, not TV, but movies and shows because my wife has COVID and I'm just literally trying to do everything. And so sometimes you just have to say like, you know what, this is a special time. You get to do this. This isn't what we do all the time. But she doesn't have her own tablet. She doesn't have her own computer or anything. She's still 4. We have found that, so she's very creatively involved. And so my wife got an iPad and started learning how to like do really, really awesome artistic drawings. And so Lacey is taking a liking to that. So we found a YouTube channel that teaches children how to draw like cartoon characters that they like. And it's like at the speed for a toddler. And I kid you not, she did one of Charlie Brown the other day. And she's 4, and I was like, "This is better than I would have done when I was like 11." And I know she was like following a thing,
Probably
but
better than I could
most
do
4-year-olds
right now.
most 4-year-olds can't even hold a pencil. So I was like, "Wow, this is crazy." But I did have my wife and I had the conversation, like, "Well, this is screen time, so she needs to understand that, like, okay, this, you know, yes, it's drawing, but we are we'll went across the big timing." Like, she doesn't have a time where like you're out of screen time today, but when we do that, we saw somebody on Instagram that gave their kid like screen time tickets.
Yeah.
Here's 30 minutes. So you have like, whatever time.
We did that when I was a kid. Like my parents did the same thing, but for TV.
Yeah.
And it was, they used poker chips.
Yeah. Whatever. It's going to be something physical that like here you get, like use your screen time money or whatever it is to do that.
And you can like redeem it with the bank of mom and dad. And yeah.
So I think that's what we're going to do. And, the other thing too is because we're creatives, she sees us, we're obviously using phones and computers all the time, but I'm trying to shape it more as these are all tools that we use, and these aren't just things that we just like exist
not
on.
occupying your time.
Yeah, they don't just like take over our brains.
Except they do. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I'm doing the detox. That's why I got to show. I got to lead by example. They always say model the right behavior, and so I'm trying my best. And that's the good thing about when you do have that perspective of staring at your kid, and you're like, man, I will be better tomorrow. I'll be better right now. Like I'm just gonna try to do, even if it's like a fraction of a percent better every day.
Incremental improvement.
Yeah,
So
that's just the goal.
What's your favorite movie for children's movie you like to watch with your kids?
Her favorite movie, and this is actually a great one because, and I have a little thing to say about movies right now. But her favorite movie is Cars, and the reason is that there's no bad guy in Cars. There's no unneeded conflict. And the reason why I bring this up is most people just throw on like hey, pick something on Disney Plus and whatever. Yeah. We use this website called Common Sense Media, and it will rate every movie on what age your kid should be at, and it'll tell you why, and you can make the choice as a parent whether to show your kid. But what I found is when your kid is allowed to watch TV, so say they're 2 years old or 3 years old, and you throw on any movie with a bad guy, they don't have the comprehension skills to understand that there's good and bad, or this character is going to do something bad, but then he's redeemed afterwards, and he's going to show you the right way to do it. They're still learning the world for the first time, and there's no reason to show them that yet until
also,
they can
kids
understand.
They're not going to understand a redemption arc. Like that's far too complex.
She still doesn't she's seen Cars a million times, and she's still like asking. Now she's asking questions, and I'm like, wait, you, what? How do you not know this already? But yeah, you're 4. So I think there's a lot of people that just put their trust in like, oh, it's a Disney movie, but there's so many scenes that are scary, that deal with death and this evil or whatever it is,
or even just like complex family structures and very complex emotional states too that can be confusing.
Yeah. So even early on, the show Llama Llama on Netflix is great. It's an awesome show, but we started showing that to her when I first, she reads all the books. So I was like, oh, they have a show. And I put it on when she was 2.5. in a couple episodes, there's no bad conflict in those shows, but sometimes he'll misbehave so that his mom can tell him the right thing to do. And that's more appropriate for the age she is now than it was when she was 2.5. Because all it did when she was 2.5 was teach her how to do the bad thing because she had never seen it before. And that's the first thing that she saw in the show. So she wasn't making the connection that he wasn't supposed to do that. He's supposed to do this. Anyways, I got way down the rabbit hole of that. But that's my 2 cents on that is just think about this. This person, your child, has never seen these things. They don't know the world you know. They have no perspective of what any of these things are, and
no context or anything.
So good shows, wonderful shows. Give a Mouse a Cookie on Amazon. That is the only conflict that ever happens is like the ball rolls away and the whole gang tries to go down the street and get it. That's a great show. There's Sesame Street. It's on HBO Max. That Sesame Street. We started. They have every season ever, but if you start from 7 years ago to now, that is awesome. They're awesome. It's fun. They have contemporary music on it. They have people. All the things they talk about is just really great, and the kids can learn. So those were my 2 go-to at the beginning when she just first started watching TV because it was I knew there would be no conflict and nothing that I'd have to parent during that.
Yeah.
But she just started watching, so she just watched Finding Nemo the other day, and that starts out with the mom getting eaten with all the other siblings, and so we had to have a whole conversation of and then there's the Bruce, the shark, and so it's so what I realized, here's a pro tip. Even when you're starting to show your kids stuff that has maybe some scarier moments for them or some complex things, I just spoil the whole movie. I tell her what she's going to see next because she's still their computer in their brain's not fast enough to see it and know it. So I say hey, he's going to go in the ship and there's going to be a shark, and the shark doesn't really want to eat the fish, but then someone gets a bloody nose and he smells it and he gets really hungry for it, and I say it in a silly way, and then so she's oh, okay.
Yeah, so she's totally excited to see it happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So by the time she sees it's not like a scary shark's there. It's oh, okay, yeah, I know that's happening. And so I spoil it right before the scene's going to happen when I know it's going to happen. I still haven't showed her the Sid scenes in Toy Story because that's just too much. That's too much at this
Those
age.
are horrible. Those are rough for an adult.
I haven't watched them in a while, so I don't know what's gonna happen. I guess I guess I'm a Disney. I like Disney movies, but I like the older stuff that were made years ago.
Yeah. Aside from the things that are culturally not acceptable anymore, the movie Aristocats is great for kids. Lady and the Tramp, she likes those movies. She loves Cinderella. That's another one that there's no real. Obviously, the stepsister's a little mean, but I could explain hey, they're not behaving properly, and so there's no all those movies with no major conflict or bad guy are good for the under 4 age. And I think in the next 6 months, she's going to be able to start seeing some, she's starting to understand what bad guys are. And she's like, why is there a bad guy? And now I have to explain well, this is a story. And to make the story interesting, there needs to be, a good guy to come save the day. And she doesn't understand what that means, but I'm just, she asked the question and I'm going to tell her what it is.
That's true. I mean, there's always has to be somebody bad in the movie. I don't know why. But...
It's got to have conflict for those stories to move forward.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys have anything else you wanna say before we end this?
I just want to say thanks for having us on. This has been really
for
fun.
Sure. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Yeah, I really appreciate using your platform to share what we're up to. That's super cool of you. And I guess to plug, find us Super Secret Dad Club on Instagram and TikTok. And find us where you find podcasts.
Well, it was my pleasure to have you guys on, and I kind of like you guys. Kind of cool. I mean,
that's good. That's good. That's good for the show.
I see a lot of dad podcasts on my show, but you guys, you're the right people to go if there's somebody's having a problem.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll mention on our show that we were here, and we'll point folks towards this episode and stuff as well. So
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll
appreciate
talk
it.
to you guys later. Have